Hi everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a folded book animal, or folded book whatever if you'd like to make your own pattern and do your own thing. So here is an example of what a finished project looks like. This is a dolphin that I've already made. And I'm going to be kind of walking you through how to make this today so that you can learn how to do your own. So what you're going to want to get from the library is a kit like this. It's going to have some patterns in it to get you started, and the book itself, which I've prepared for you. There's going to be 2 to 3 patterns in here depending on which one you pick up. You're going to have the main 1 or 2 with your animal you're going to choose from on it. So this one obviously is the dolphin. And you're going to have a blank one. So if you'd like to design your own thing, maybe a different animal you like more, or maybe you want to do your name or something like that, you could do that on this piece of paper. A couple things to keep in mind. Don't worry if it has to be stretched out a little bit. If it's a little bit longer than it is tall, that is fine as long as it's not too distorted. As you can see, it's going to just depend on how wide your book is, how spread out it can be, so you have a little control of that when it's done. So don't worry about that too much if you're designing your own. You're also going to want to be careful not to have too crazy of a design. You don't want more than 3 black silhouettes, 3 black areas of color. And I'll explain that a little more later on so you know what I'm saying. So just maybe don't draw this until you've watched this video and you kind of know what you're going to be making. But yeah, we'd love to see if you've designed your own thing. Please share a picture with us because that would be really cool. Alrighty. So you want to get your kit from the library. Look at the front to see what animal is going to be in there. And as far as supplies you'll need at home, there's not a lot. You will need a ruler and a pencil. A pen will work too, but the pencil's nice in case you draw on a section you didn't want to draw on and you want to erase it later or something like that. And you may also need some tape. That's just going to depend on the size of your book, and we'll get to that in a second. So if you have all those things, then you should be ready to get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is get your pattern ready to go, and make sure that you're going to have your pattern in a consistent place in your book the entire time you're working. There's really 2 situations to this. It's different depending on if your book is bigger than your pattern or if your pattern is bigger than your book. So I'll show you generally what I do for both of these situations. So first of all, this book is a little bit smaller than my pattern. So generally what I do here is I figure out where I want my pattern to lay in the book once it's done, once it's folded into all these pages. I usually pretty much go straight down the middle because when I design these patterns I try to get the animal pretty much in the middle, but you know, if you wanted it close to the top or the bottom, that'd be fine. Just make sure that none of your animal is going to go off the page. And remember, it is going to be harder to fold the closer the animal is to the edge of your page, just so keep that in mind. But I'm going to go pretty much down the middle. So I'll lay my pattern about where I want it, and then I'll make a little mark where the page is on my pattern. And you can do this at the top and bottom, or just the top. It's really up to you. I generally do just the top. So I'll measure where that little mark is, and I will make a matching mark down at this end. And because these papers are longer than my ruler, I'll do one in the middle as well. And then I'll just draw myself a line. Okay. And then the whole time that I'm working, that I'm folding this, I will just line the top of my page up with that line. That'll keep me consistent the whole way through. Now, slightly more difficult if your book is bigger than your pattern. There's a couple ways you can do this. You could make lines onto the book pages and try to follow that. That is a little hard to do because you'll usually be looking from the top. If you have an X-Acto knife and you want to score that line so you can see it on every page, that's what a lot of people who do this consistently do, but not everyone has an X-Acto knife. So the easiest probably way to do it is to figure out where you want it on the page and then take a scrap piece of paper and add that onto your pattern. So at the top of that scrap piece of paper is always going to be the top of your page. So get that lined up, and then you can usually tape it here to hold it. Make sure it's straight along here, and then just tape them together. If your book is pretty much exactly the size of your paper, you're good to go. Just make the top line up, top of your pattern line up with the top of the page. But most of us will not be that lucky, so you have to do some sort of finagling like this to make sure you're the consistent line to follow. And after that, it's time to get started. So if your book, if its front leaves are the same color as your pages, if this, slightly thicker page is the same color, go ahead and fold that in. I've included it in the lines on the pattern. If you have a blue color page like this, or whatever color your cover is, and it's not the same color, just skip that. You can either tear it out, pull it out, or leave it when it's done, but I haven't included that on your pattern, because on the pattern, each one of these lines should match up with a page in your book. Assuming I've done my math correctly, which is a big assumption, but I think we're ready to get started. So what you're gonna wanna do is lay your pattern under your first page and line the top of the page up with that top line we just made, whether that's your extra piece of paper or the line that you've drawn in. If my book was smaller, I'd go here, and with this one, I'll go here. And find that very first line of the box. So this will be the trickiest one. It's hard to get started because your page is going to want to fall out. You'll line it up with both ends of that first line. And what I like to do is take another book, put it underneath up here so that it's not trying to pull out from me. Line up that first page at the top. Line it up with bottom there. Then I take my pencil and I mark where that black starts. So here on my dolphin, it's that little bit of the nose that crosses my single black line through here. So I mark both of those. You can pull your page out if you want. And then you should have, down at the top and the bottom of your page, about an inch in from the spine, you should have a little cut that I've made with an X-Acto knife. What you're going to do is fold so that the fold in your book goes from that X-Acto knife score to the bottom line of that you've just made here. Like that. Something you can do if you can't get this exact is you can take a ruler and draw a line between your score line and the line you've drawn, and then fold it on that. I personally don't do that just because I've made a lot of these, and you start to get a habit after a while and be pretty decent at getting these lined up. And it's not the end of the world if you're off by a little bit. It just makes slightly uneven along this line once you're done. And I can show you that with another one I'm working on. But yeah, this project already takes a little time, so I usually don't bother drawing a line every time. But if you need that, if you want it to be exact and perfect, go for that. Absolutely. Alright. Then you should take your pattern and mark off that first page so that you know that you've done it. That's the important part. If you start forgetting to mark them off and forgetting where you're at, then you're gonna, it's gonna fall apart pretty quickly. On these patterns, I've marked every 5 pages with a colored line. That way it's pretty easy to remember where you're at. What I like to do is when I get to my first red line, I write down what page number it's on. And then every time after that I get to a red line, I should be on the same, it should be 10 more. So it should be, if it was 9 the first time, it'll be 19, 29, 39. It's not always going to be 10, 20, 30 because you've got these title pages and things at the beginning. But that way if I know I should always be doing a red line on a 9, then I'll know if I missed a page somewhere. So let me keep going a little bit and make sure everyone's got the steps down. So you find my second line here. Make sure my top is still lined up with whatever my line is. I'm gonna mark where my black intersects with that line, where my black comes into the page. And then I'm gonna fold from my notch to that line. If you really want to get it good, you can take a ruler or a popsicle stick, whatever, and make these creases even heavier. Once again, I don't bother because this project already takes forever, and you'll probably be sick of it before it's done. There we go. I'm done. Same thing again. Gotta remember to mark it off. That's the important bit. Same thing again. Gonna go to the third line. Make sure I'm lined up at the top. Draw my marks. And fold. And that's just going to slowly start creating the shape of the dolphin in this flat part of my fold right there. So here's a dolphin I've been working on for a while, and you can see that it's just, over time, you start to get that shape going. And it takes a while. This is what I was talking about, where this won't be as flat and consistent if you're not getting it perfectly lined up with that cut, but you're really not going to notice it, so it's not something you necessarily have to stress over. Alrighty, something else to consider, some people when they do these, they like to just go through page by page and just mark their marks first. And so just do that, mark one, mark the next one, mark the next one, and just keep doing that until the whole book is marked, and then they go back through and fold. You can absolutely do that. I like to see the shape start to form as I work, so I always mark, fold, mark, fold. But yeah, I think that's the basics. Next I'm going to show you what to do when you get to a spot like this, where when there's more than one line. So here you can see I can't fold just a continuous line here because there's a fin and the body of the dolphin. So I will show you that in just a second. Alrighty, so now I've gotten to the point in the dolphin where I'm ready to do 2 different shapes. You can see I've got the body and I've got the fin, so I can't just make one solid fold. So what you're going to do is fold 1 page for this part and then 1 page for this part. So I'll get myself all lined up here so you can see. Ready for one of my red lines. It's one of my original patterns, so I don't have my blue lines on it. And I'll just mark the body of the dolphin here. And I will fold that. Okay, mark that one off. I'll write down my number, 191. Oh, and I didn't say this before. I think I said it would be every 10, but because the pages are doubled, it'll actually be every 20. So I was wrong about that. So it's 131, 151, 171, 191. But as long as it's always ending on that 1, I know I haven't skipped anything with my red lines. Okay, so we do the next page. Right, and I line that up. And this time, instead of doing the body of the dolphin, mark the fin. And I fold to the fin. And you just keep doing that. So this time, I'll mark it off. Line it up. Just move on me when that happens. Something else I sometimes do is actually mark one ahead of where I'm working, so the next one that's marked is actually the one I'm going to do, because that makes it easier to see. But that can definitely get confusing if you don't remember that that's what you're doing. Okay, so there's the body of the dolphin. Because I did the fin last time. And then the next time I do the fin, so you can kind of start to see that it's going to give me two different lines here, and you can do this with up to 3 individual lines at a time. I wouldn't advise, like if you're drawing your own pattern on one of the blanks, to go over 3 lines. You have to do it at a time. It just gets too confusing and it doesn't look good. So the rule of thumb I've always heard is to stick with no more than 3, unless maybe you have a really, really thick book where you're gonna lots of pages to stretch this out over. Yeah, I think that is everything for this. And I think you should be good. Just keep folding until you get to that last page. And let us know if you have any questions or if you finish it. We'd love to see pictures, but good luck.